Basketball and video games go way back, but in the 8-bit era, one title set the standard for arcade-style hoops and defined video game basketball for a generation: Double Dribble on the NES. Before NBA 2K and even before NBA Jam, Konami's Double Dribble was the undisputed king of basketball video games. You likely still remember the first times you watched one of those silver dunk animations, enjoyed the mascot-filled halftime show, and may have started fights with siblings or ended friendships over taking advantage of the notorious corner 3 glitch. You do not want to miss any of the secrets in history today as we discuss the beloved Double Dribble on the NES. Let's get started. And if this is your first time here at the channel, my name is Tyler, and if you love gaming from all generations like we do here at G3, then consider hitting that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss anything. We all know the early days of the NES were an influential era of 80s US pop culture. The late 80s marked a transition point in the basketball world of the NBA as well. I know it's hard to imagine now, but this was a time before the name Michael Jordan was synonymous with NBA basketball, with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's Lakers and Celtics rivalry mostly occupying the basketball zeitgeist. And while Konami was not able to bring an NBA licensed basketball title to the NES, it is no shock to anyone that the artwork and team names for Double Dribble were influenced by these East and West Coast NBA superstars. But the NES game was not Konami's first installment of Double Dribble. Konami originally developed Double Dribble as an arcade basketball game, inspired by their success in other sports titles like track and field. The game was released in 1986 and is known for its innovative use of digitized voice commentary, cinematic dunk sequences, and realistic basketball mechanics for the time. And apparently one of the reasons it's harder to find a Double Dribble cabinet today is that Double Dribble was just an arcade kit designed to replace existing cabinets with older games that were no longer bringing in quarters. Given its popularity, it was only a matter of time before Konami brought it to home consoles. Konami decided to bring Double Dribble to the Famicom and Nintendo Entertainment System, and release in July and September 1987 respectively. The transition from arcade to console wasn't easy, but Konami managed to retain the essence of the game while making some interesting changes to fit the Famicom and NES hardware. But in Japan, it wasn't released as a standard cartridge like North America. Instead, it came out in July 1987 for the Famicom Disk System that allowed for more storage, rewritable game saves, and in some cases, enhanced audio features. The Disk System title was named Exciting Basket, and yes, it's Exciting Basket, not Exciting Basketball, in Japan to be included in Konami's Exciting Games series including baseball, soccer, and even billiards. First glances of the visuals and gameplay gives the illusion that the Famicom port might just be superior to the NES game. Exciting music and less flickering sprites presents a more fluid and action-packed vibe to the game. But when you try to land a cinematic dunk multiple times, you realize the cutscenes are nowhere to be found. Konami of America's decision to sacrifice certain gameplay elements of the Famicom Disk System's release was a genius gamble when it was optimized for the NES, like removing in-game music in order to include a chiptune rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, along with a visual American flag, and most notably the animated dunk cutscenes calling back to the original arcade title, despite the NES animations looking like they wrapped the players in aluminum foil. And might I add that the chiptune version of the US national anthem was a wise choice because that arcade voice rendition was a little rough.
Bumper seen in air, we grew through the night, and our flag still there. Oh, say
But to be fair, this was actually not from a voice recording. This was produced by the Sanyo audio chip called the VLM5030, which was specifically designed to mimic human speech. I mean, for this to strictly be synthesized from a chip and not from a compressed audio track from a human, I guess we can give it a little bit of a break. Double Dribble was ahead of its time in several ways. Remember, this was the first basketball game on the NES, with most people's idea of basketball in video games being basketball on the Atari 2600, so Double Dribble was light years ahead of that title visually. Also, it was one of the few NES games to feature digitized speech. The opening of the game famously announces Double Dribble in a robotic but recognizable voice, which was a major wow factor in 1987. Despite it actually saying Double Bibble. Wubble Wibble? Well, you get the idea.
Double Dribble.
The game's voice samples, including the famous Double Dribble announcement, were likely created by recording a Konami employee or voice actor and then heavily compressing the audio to fit within the NES's limited sound capabilities. But there is a legitimate explanation as to why it sounded so bad. Double Dribble was the first game that Konami ported to the NES that incorporated the extra audio hardware on the Famicom Disk System. The original audio files had to be manipulated since the NES had very restricted sound hardware, which resulted in the voice being heavily compressed and low fidelity. But it was still impressive for its time. This was all a result of an unknown flaw in the audio processing unit or APU of the NES called DPCM bit reversal. This flaw would result in the APU decoding the voice sample data in an unexpected right to left fashion, which corrupts and distorts the audio. First-party games developed by Nintendo were aware of this problem in earlier titles, and Nintendo acted accordingly to uncorrupt those audio files in games such as Wild Gunman. However, it seems that Nintendo didn't pass this information to third-party developers, resulting in more than reputable companies like Konami to release lesser quality audio on the NES.
Double Dribble. Double Dribble. Double Dribble. Double Dribble. Double Dribble. Double Dribble.
Another standout feature was its dunk animations. Instead of a simple sprite jumping toward the hoop, Double Dribble used cutscenes that showcase dramatic slam dunks, one of the earliest instances of cinematic moments in a sports game. The genius behind the design of Double Dribble on the NES was that Konami created a game that set itself apart from the early NES sports titles. You likely have fond memories of games like baseball, golf, or 10-yard fight, but you have to admit that the heart of those games are mostly generic. But Double Dribble has dramatic cutscenes, 5-on-5 action, and character. I mean, each team had their own mascots and even styles of play. The New York Eagles were fast and great shooters, the Chicago Ox were aggressive, the Frogs were the best jumpers, and since they were based in Boston, they had the most intelligent players due to being located near some of the best universities in the country. And finally, the Los Angeles Breakers demonstrated a great teamwork style of play, allowing them to, and I'm quoting the official Nintendo Player's Guide here, overwhelm the opponent like a giant wave, which is most likely a nod to the Lakers' fast break style of play. I am still shocked how I've definitely experienced a Mandela effect with a couple elements of Double Dribble. First off, I remember the game was a tournament style of play composed of 4 teams to choose from. In reality, you can never choose the Celtics, I mean Frogs, in one-player gameplay, and there is only one game to play to quote-unquote beat the game based on the 3 difficulty levels, earning bronze, silver, or gold trophies, even though that bronze trophy looks more like Han Solo frozen in carbonite instead of the trophy. But did you know the answer for why only one game is needed for you to claim the championship trophy is revealed in Double Dribble's manual? You are actually playing the final game 7 of a grueling series reminiscent of the NBA Finals. What is strange is that you are playing against Los Angeles in this series, but the opponent is actually Boston during actual gameplay. And while we're on the subject of manuals, let's take a moment to appreciate the manual of the Famicom title. Even though I can't read the Japanese text, I am fascinated by the artwork and pride taken in the creation of the manuals for the Famicom Disk System games. The style reminds me of those classic Schoolhouse Rock videos growing up. I didn't notice this as much as a kid because I had played Double Dribble before playing other Konami titles, but when I hear the crowd and other sound effects now, I can definitely hear the Konami element for sure. I mean, just listening to the crowd or the sound of landing a 3 questions if a fighter jet from Top Gun is taking off or I'm blowing up an alien base in Contra. Three different animated dunk sequences are available in the NES Double Dribble: the windmill, reverse jam, and two-handed dunks. These animations look phenomenal for the time, and reflected the styles of some of the NBA's highest flyers at the time like Dr. J, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, and Dennis Johnson. One irony in this game is the actual title itself. One quirk in the arcade game is there is an actual dribble button you would continuously tap to propel your player in that direction. If you would stop dribbling, you would have to pass or shoot to not get stuck with a double dribble violation. But since you only had 2 buttons on the Famicom and NES controllers, dribbling became automatic, allowing for more essential passing and shooting buttons to guide the gameplay. This means that while you could get other infractions like traveling, fouls, or shot clock violations, a double dribble violation could not be enforced. Like many NES games, Double Dribble isn't without its quirks, and that means secrets and glitches. One of the most infamous glitches in the game is the Corner 3 exploit. If a player shoots from the right spot near the baseline and continuing to head out of bounds, the shot almost always goes in. This made multiplayer matches intense and often setting pre-game honor system ground rules, and most certainly could build tension between players. This next one just might be my favorite glitch or exploit in Double Dribble, and that is you can actually dunk from the 3-point line. I have the most success doing it from the bottom of the screen, but I think it can work from the top as well. But I basically go to the bottom corner, hold down the B button and push up like I'm heading towards the basket and release it about the time you think you should dunk, and cue the dunk animation sequence. Although I think it may just count this as 2 points, so don't rely on this one to actually win. A general good rule of thumb for Double Dribble is to stay on the upper to mid sides of the court for better chances to make a bucket. You have more success winning a jump ball if you wait to jump just a little bit after the opposing player. The spots you see scattered throughout the court are supposed to be rivets in the wooden floor, but some see they're more like X marks the spot for a higher 3-point percentage. On defense, make sure to keep tapping the A and B buttons simultaneously to keep the nearest player to the ball in control to steal. So how well did Double Dribble perform? As one of the earliest basketball games on the NES, it was a massive success, selling over 1.5 million copies worldwide. Critics praised its fast gameplay and dunk animations, which were groundbreaking for the time. Other Double Dribble ports were scattered throughout the video game platforms such as Commodore 64, Amiga, MS-DOS, and even the Game Boy and Genesis. But I think you will agree that the NES title is what broke through the 80s cultural zeitgeist, and is the true reason we are still discussing this game today. The game holds up as a fun, nostalgic experience. It's a reminder of Konami's golden age, when they could turn any genre into a classic. Please share some of your favorite memories of Double Dribble in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more secrets and history right here on G3. Special shout out to Patrick M for finding Mullet Boy first in our last Marble Madness NES Secrets and History video. Till next time guys, G3 out.